Hello and thank you for joining us for the KREM 2 News Week in Review. I'm Cody Proctor. Each weekend we walk you through the headlines from the past week in the Inland Northwest. Let's get started with one of the biggest news stories of the past few days.
Brian Kohberger's attorneys explicitly cite the Dateline NBC special as a reason for pushing back the trial start date. That special, according to court records, included leaked information on the case that wasn't publicly available.
The motion filed calls the Dateline special, along with an upcoming book release, inflammatory, prejudicial publicity. Kohberger's attorneys believe this publicity just weeks before the trial impacts the case and potential jurors. They say sticking to the August trial date would violate his right to a fair trial. The motion also suggests there's a likelihood a death sentence could be reversed if the trial isn't pushed back. It argues many death sentence cases have been reversed, mostly because the defense attorneys didn't have enough time or fully investigate key elements in the case. Kohberger's attorneys want more time to investigate the information leaks and mitigate the effects of the pretrial publicity. They say granting a continuance is a necessary step to meet the unique demands of a capital punishment case like this one.
The next hearing scheduled for this case is June 18th. That's when Kohberger's defense attorneys will present evidence supporting their theory of an alternate suspect. Amanda Rolley, KREM 2 News.
The 2025 wildfire season has all of the ingredients to be a bad one. This spring has already been abnormally warm and abnormally dry, a trend that is likely to continue through summer. Parts of the region face drought. It's not near as bad as it is in other parts of our country, but it's what's dry right now that is of greatest concern. Both the Cascades and the Northern Rockies dealt with seasons-long moisture deficits. Our mountain snowpack, which peaked in late March, melted rapidly in the April and early May heat. Timber or forests tend to hold more moisture through short-lived dry spells. But as that moisture dries out, it can take seasons to regain what is lost. And that's where we sit in the woods of eastern Washington and North Idaho right now. Things like grass and shrubs green up quickly in the spring, but dry out just as fast. By late summer, they often become the fuels to some of our largest and fastest growing wildfires in the region. Here's how to think about it. Things will start drying out in June. Grasslands in eastern Washington and places impacted by drought conditions there and in North Idaho will face increased fire potential first. By July, the entire inland Northwest faces increased fire danger. Seasonal grasses and shrubs dry out, and the seasons-long moisture deficit in the mountains catches up to us once the snow is gone. From there, fire danger remains high for most of the western U.S. until rain returns in the fall. A bit of good news. There's increasing evidence that the North American monsoon is weaker, meaning less lightning potential for the Northwest during the heat of summer. So this year, it comes down to us. Almost every single wildfire in the Northwest is caused by humans. Us. Already this year, more than 50% of all the wildfires started were caused by debris burns getting out of hand. Piles just like this. You might have already smelled smoke this year. A lot of that has come from prescribed burns like this one here at Turnbull National Wildlife Refuge. By burning a lot of the fuels down low early in the year when things are still wet, it stops the fire from spreading up into the trees and getting more intense, meaning crews have a better shot at fighting wildfires when they start in a place like this later in the year. Another way to achieve that very same goal is by literally coming in with saws and cutting down all of those smaller trees and underbrush. It's very similar to the prescribed burns. It gets rid of all of the stuff that would allow the fire to spread up into the canopies of trees. We've seen crews doing this all over the inland Northwest as a way to battle the spread of wildfires as our summers become hotter and drier. Once the fire ignites, one of the biggest factors in stopping growth is response. By having more crews in more places with more air and more ground resources, wildland firefighters are able to respond faster before manageable starts get out of control. Last year, many fires were stopped before even reaching 10 acres. By staying vigilant, we can reduce the number of wildfires we see and the number of acres burned. It's things like following burn bans or skipping out on the fireworks, even just exercising extreme caution on critical wildfire danger days. Those things really do make a difference. In a year like this, wildfires are inevitable. But when it comes down to us, we really can save lives and homes and countless acres of natural beauty here in the inland Northwest. Not to mention, stop us from breathing smoke all summer long. For KREM 2 News, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Legoo.
As we go to break, here's a check of your weekend forecast. Welcome back to the KREM 2 News Week in Review. It's been a busy week across the inland Northwest, and we want to help catch you up on some stories you might have missed.
Most recently, job layoffs across NIOSH sites have been rescinded, so union leaders are urging to get jobs back in Spokane as other cities are already back to work.
Between Pittsburgh, Morgantown, Atlanta, Cincinnati, but of course, our goal is to get everyone back.
Congressman Michael Bombgartner has now sent a second letter to Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. urging to rescind job layoffs at the Spokane Research Lab as the work is essential to mining safety research. He says, "While I support your push to streamline government operations and reduce costs, it is essential to recognize the unique and irreplaceable contributions of NIOSH to worker safety and public health." In April, staff at the Spokane Lab, which is operated under both the Department of Health and Human Services and the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, received reduction in force notices that everyone would be let go by June 30th.
We get to do a lot of really interesting, neat things, and that's an opportunity that's going to be gone. So most people will be moving out of Spokane after they lose their jobs here.
Congressman Baumgartner's letter is in response after some NIOSH sites have now seen rescinded layoffs. That's why I spoke with union leaders to ask why the Spokane Lab has not received the same rescinded layoff notices as other locations.
The Mine Safety Act and the Firefighters Act, they require those individuals to utilize NIOSH certified PPE. So it was directly impacting their work.
Mining research is not well known within CDC either, or within HHS. And so I think it was a convenient means to cut the mining program from the NIOSH budget.
Now, union officials say with some sites being reopened, employees are uncertain about what comes next.
When there's no explanation and it's just done in a slipshod manner, it is disappointing.
Union officials tell me tomorrow in Washington, D.C., there is going to be a rally in front of the HHS building to show the importance of NIOSH work. As for this research facility here in Spokane, it's by June 30th. Right now, as it stands, everything will be closed. I'm reporting here in Spokane, Regan Gallo, KREM 2 News.
One thing that missed the cut for funding in the newly signed Washington state budget is the WSU Spokane Team Health Building, which provides an innovative approach to healthcare education. The university hired designers and builders a little over a year ago, and construction was tentatively planned to start in July. The building would serve students in all three WSU Spokane Health colleges, the College of Nursing, College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, and the Elson S. Floyd College of Medicine. WSU Spokane's website calls it a cutting-edge simulation facility that would better prepare future healthcare professionals and, quote, transform health education and improve the health of all in Washington state and beyond.
That's a building that will do interdisciplinary training. WC brought forward a $37 million request. Because of inflation, they raised it to $50 million. That's where we can train more docs and nurses, and the fact that wasn't funded in our capital budget is, I think, disappointing.
State Senator Marcus Riccelli said he's going to continue to work to secure funding for the building. At WSU Spokane, Caitlin Galloway, KREM 2 News.
Believe it or not, the decades-long project is slated to be done in just about 5 years, and officials with WSDOT say they're really excited to see what the future holds for the project.
It's always exciting to see something that starts out as a big idea or a concept and see it actually get constructed.
Karen Mobley holds the North Spokane corridor close to her heart.
Since I was the city arts director for the city of Spokane in the 1990s.
1997 to be exact. She worked on the design of the first phase of the project, now constructed by Spokane Community College. She now works under contract with WSDOT as an arts project manager. It's work she's done for decades, and now Governor Bob Ferguson signed the state's transportation budget into law on Tuesday, making sure it stays on track.
The allocation of funding for the North Spokane corridor was signed into budget law.
WSDOT reports that budget consisting of $1.5 billion in state funding. Those dollars come from two sources: a funding package passed by the state legislature in 2015 known as Connecting Washington. It helps funding for multiple state highway projects, including the NSC. Other funding comes through a new 6-cent gas tax increase signed into law this year. Those funds also go towards this project and many others. Ryan Overton with WSDOT says those dollars are significant as the project is set to be completed in the early months of 2030.
We're just a matter of months to year and a half from really seeing construction take off around the region.
WSDOT's last community meeting on Wednesday at the Liberty Park Library highlighted different discussions they've had with Spokanites throughout the year, including routes, artwork, and the status of the corridor. Mobley says she can't wait to see it come to life and hopes its funding and projected completion stays on track.
We do things that are, I guess I'm going to say, connected and meaningful to the community. And I'm particularly proud of this one because I think the artists have done a really good job.
Overton also says anyone who missed these meetings but are interested in voicing their thoughts about the project can do so by heading to WSDOT's website. He says these types of meetings will return sometime in the fall. Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
Hello, I'm Cody Proctor. Thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 News. You're watching the Week in Review, where we bring you some of the biggest news stories of the past week.
Well, the dirt was officially turned just hours ago on new apartments, a partnership between Thrive International and Spokane's Public Library.
On this acre and a half of North Spokane dirt, a whole lot of nothing has taken root. But now something here is about to thrive. The parcel along Nevada will soon transform into Thrive International's new apartments.
Doing what I believe is a defiant act of hope. We're believing in a better world, not just pie in the sky, I hope somebody else does that, but let's build it.
For Director Mark Finney,
but I think that's what we're here to do. We're here to plant seeds of hope.
The $10 million project started with an unlikely pairing that just grew legs.
You should talk to the library. They got this piece up north.
Spokane's library bought it for a branch in the 90s. That didn't happen. Last spring, the library bought into Thrive's plan for affordable housing, selling the lot for $10.
We are laying the foundation for greater connection.
The library will run a community center, garden, and library kiosk on site. Half of the 48 apartments will be dedicated to working people and refugees, like Ukrainian immigrant Yulia Boycheva.
Also, when you are a new arrival from a different country, you do not have any rent history, credit score, you do not have money for the rent.
More than just affordable. It's housing with support services and an inclusive community.
You can meet people like you are, find new friends. You arrive without the friends, without the family typically.
As far as we know, this is the only unique public-private partnership in the country between a public library and a nonprofit to build housing together.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
A groundbreaking moment.
Thanks, everybody. Congratulations.
For Spokane's future transplants.
They can receive help and support and start to feel like their home, new home.
Now, Finney says this project is fully funded, but they are still launching a capital campaign. Thrive didn't get as much money as anticipated in the recent state budget. We have information on how you can donate at KREM.com. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Well, another 100 acres that was once private land is now open for public use, and this is an expansion of Palisades Park with a new loop trail as well as lots of acres to explore.
City leaders say this plan has been in the making since the early 90s. They say it took 12 parcels of land and 10 landowners to turn private land into a natural area, which was finally secured in 2022. Now it totals the park to 520 acres of public wildlife.
A hidden jewel, and there is so many different opportunities and trails around this area, and what I would say one of the best views in our community.
This project answers 93% of people who took a survey telling Spokane Parks and Recreation they wanted more preserved areas.
We only have about 10% of our lands are in a conserved public accessible status, whereas most Western states have about 30%.
KREM 2 spoke to one volunteer who has worked behind the scenes on this project for decades.
It is a prime wildlife habitat and needs to be used accordingly and with that kind of respect for the fact that this is home, critical home to lots of species.
This expansion is one element of the Together Spokane initiative and the Spokane Parks Levy.
So giving us the guidance and best practices of how we should be managing and acquiring future lands.
Which would fund a new trailhead for this loop, enhance park renovations, create forest health plans, and increase park ranger resources.
So come November, if Spokane votes yes on both the Spokane Public Schools bond and the Spokane Parks levy, there's a lot more work to be done here at Palisades Park. I'm reporting here in Palisades Park in Spokane, Regan Gallo, KREM 2 News.
Welcome back. Before we wrap up this edition of the KREM 2 News Week in Review, we want to remind you that you can get the latest newscasts and weather forecasts anytime on KREM 2 Plus. It is free to watch and download for Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. Now here's one more story before we go.
This is where the magic happens. I'm at Hoopfest Volunteer headquarters as we're just about a month away from tip-off. The event is run almost entirely by volunteers, but there was a time in longtime volunteer Carissa Armstrong's life where she didn't consider herself a basketball fan.
I am an artist. I don't know anything about basketball.
But when her son, who was 10 years old at the time, wanted to volunteer at Hoopfest, Mom had to get involved too, and the rest is history.
He wanted to be a scorekeeper, and I called Chad to ask how he could participate in this event, and he said, "You need to monitor." And that began our journey, and now my son is in security, and I'm a marshal, and his wife has come into the event with us, so it's definitely become a family affair.
Armstrong fell in love with the environment of Hoopfest, and it's the community that's kept her there all these years.
I have monitors now that have been with me from anywhere from 7 to 5 years as a marshal, and I have monitors that I have known since the beginning. And I did not expect to meet such a diverse group of people in my community and for those relationships to become so important.
Hoopfest is looking for between 1,500 and 2,000 volunteers, and they're about 2/3 of the way there. Hoopfest volunteer coordinator Chad Smith says volunteers come in from all over the country, and there's a way for anyone to get involved, no basketball experience required.
We just need people that are willing to step out, be into the community, interact with the kids, interact with the high school kids, the adults that participate. That's what we're looking for.
If you'd like more information about volunteering at Hoopfest, details are on our website, krem.com. They're hoping to have all volunteers signed up by June 20th. At Hoopfest headquarters in downtown Spokane, Caitlin Galloway, KREM 2 News.
Thank you for joining us for the KREM 2 News Week in Review. Keep it here on KREM 2 for more news throughout the weekend. I'm Cody Proctor. Thanks for watching.